slowly getting back to football season. OTAs are over, mini camps over. Next up, training camp, and then preseason, and then it's here, and then it's here. So, with training camp coming up next, let's talk about some of the biggest positional battles coming up. And to start off, we're going to go with Baker Mayfield versus Kyle Trask. And even though I'm joking. Are Traskaholics still a thing? Because I know this time last year, they were heavy. They were strong, they were loud, they were proud. Trask is the guy. And then, Baker Mayfield got named a starter, and the season went along, and Baker, showing some really good things. Playing way better than anyone expected. And absolutely just that contract, $4 million, steal. Probably the biggest steal of the NFL season last year, if we're being honest. And, around that time, I'd say they were endangered. There were still a couple people, somehow thought, Trask could still jump in there and do what Baker Mayfield was doing. And then you get to the end of the year where the Bucs go on that run, win the game against the Eagles. I think they're extinct now. I think Traskaholics are officially extinct. I think. There has to be a couple Gators fans that are, still holding on to that shoestring. But let it go. All right, so let's start on the offensive side of the ball, and we're going to be talking about the left guard position. Obviously, center has been filled. Left tackle, good. Right guard, good. Cody Mock should be taking that next step. Put on some weight during this offseason. That's what he needed to do. Obviously, coming from North Dakota State, little bit not really filling in that NFL body yet. Putting on that weight, should be good to go. Right tackle, Gadecki, awesome year last year. Looking for maybe even another. If we can get another step out of Gadecki, that would be insane. But the Bucs might have the best tackle duo in the entire league. The one hole on the offensive line now is still that left guard position. The Bucs bring in 2 free agents, Suo Opeta and Ben Bredesen. And then they draft Elijah Klein late in that draft. So looking at Ben Bredesen first, 5 years experience in the NFL, starting off with the Baltimore Ravens, playing 10 games there. Then he moves over to the New York Giants, 8 games, then 11 games. Then last year playing 16 games. So the experience is there. And that's kind of the question I guess we can ask is at that left guard position. Since the rest of the offensive line is pretty much solidified, you got 2 young guys. I mean, they're all pretty young actually. But you look at the center and right guard position, younger, less experienced guys, Mock only playing that 1 season. Do we want that left guard position to be a veteran, to just kind of hold it down? Maybe they don't have the potential. Maybe they're not even the future of that left guard position. I mean, you look at last year, it has to be better than last year, right? I mean, you bring in Matt Filer, that went nowhere. Aaron Stinney really didn't play that well. I feel like he provided a spark a little bit for maybe 2 or 3 games, but that didn't end up going anywhere. So on to Suo Opeta, 4 years in the NFL, all being with that Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, known to have a really good offensive line, and in and out of the lineup, it seems. So games played, 13, 7, 10, and 8 in his rookie year, but you look at the games started, just 10 starts throughout his entire career. So with only 10 games started throughout his entire career, Ben Bredesen already has him beat there experience-wise, having started 16 games just last season with the New York Giants. So he has him beat there. This is not really something you can be like, oh yeah, I think this guy's going to win the job. They just got to go out there in training camp, maul it out, best man wins, and that's going to be that. So next up is the rookie, I would say the dark horse in this race, Elijah Klein. Coming out of Texas El Paso, so probably needing to put on some weight, put on some size, grow into that NFL build, sort of like Cody Mock, who I talked about earlier. I say the dark horse just because, like I said earlier, you have two guys with experience, Ben Bredesen having more experience, and he comes from a very, very run-heavy scheme. I do like his attitude. He's a mauler. He's a Jason Light type of guy, but he probably needs some time, at least a year or two, to catch up to the NFL, if that makes any sense. Just speed-wise and scheme-wise, where it's not just going to be a lot of running the ball, pushing someone forward, trying to maul someone. Takes a little bit more finesse in this league. Takes a little more finesse. So my dark horse, but I do like the pick. I'm not saying like this is a waste of pick. Round 6, Elijah Klein. I like the pick. I like the future potential there, but I think he needs to grow a little bit. Obviously, I'm just guessing. We haven't seen anything out of the guy. Staying on offense, we're going to be talking about the wide receiver 3 position. Obviously, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Not even a conversation there. Wide receiver 3. Last year, the Bucs drafted Trey Palmer in the 6th round. And Trey Palmer, I mean, he showed flashes. He showed just moments where he very much looked like a rookie. But for a 6th round pick, huge success. You cannot deny that. What Trey Palmer brought to this team, showing those flashes, especially earlier in the season. And then in that playoff game against the Eagles, that huge touchdown, catch and run. Like I said, for a 6th round pick, that's awesome. Then Jalen McMillan in that 3rd round, I think was a steal, honestly. I've seen people say that he was kind of like a low-key better than, I wouldn't say Odunze, but maybe better than Jalen Polk, who was the wide receiver 2 on that team. Jalen McMillan was more of the slot guy. Maybe that's why he fell back a little bit. He had a lot of good early production in his career with Washington. A little bit of injuries here and there. Maybe that made him fall back a little bit. Whatever it may be, I think we got a steal. This might be the most fun competition to watch during training camp. We know Trey Palmer's a competitive guy. Wake up pissed off. Is he going to wake up pissed off during training camp? Because he is in a competition. If you forced me to guess, I think McMillan comes out with it. I've heard really good things coming from minicamp. Obviously, you got to take that with a grain of salt. They're only wearing helmets and no pads, so yeah, don't dig too deep into that. But just watching his highlights, watching his tape at Washington, the guy is extremely talented, does everything you want a wide receiver to do. And even if he does win the job, I think they still use Trey Palmer a bunch. He has that speed that no one else has in this wide receiver group, that 4.3 speed that can take the top off the defense, and that will always be useful, always be a necessity on a football team. So Trey Palmer's going nowhere. Even if Jalen McMillan wins this job, he will find his way on the football field. So now we're going to be moving over to the defensive side of the ball, and the competition we are going to start with is Joe Tryon-Shoyinka versus Chris Braswell. So that outside linebacker position, we know after the performance and the year that Yaya Diaby put up last year, he's going to be a starter. I feel like it took him too long to be named a starter last year. I think it wasn't until week 10 after he was probably outperforming everyone, even Shaq Barrett. But once he became a starter, it was just really good stuff from a 3rd round pick, especially. It was really nice to see. Other side, though, big question mark. Huge question mark. Shaq Barrett, obviously, parts way with the Buccaneers. He goes on to the Dolphins. Now it's just, you have Anthony Nelson, you have Marquise Watts, obviously Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. Who takes that spot? So free agency, the Bucs don't really bring in anyone. If you want to talk about Randy Gregory, I guess there's a lot going on right there right now, so I'm not even really going to dig too deep into him. But they do draft Chris Braswell in that 2nd round, so I think we all knew as Bucs fans they were going to invest in one of those top 3 rounds for sure. Probably one of the first 2, and they go with that 2nd round pick. And they're able to get Chris Braswell, who I probably sound extremely biased just saying another steal, but when you're at Alabama and you're playing behind a Will Anderson and a Dallas Turner, you don't really get as much time. He stuck it out. He saw it through, stayed at Alabama, didn't transfer, and once his name was called, he showed up. Last year in the SEC, leading the SEC in quarterback pressures. Getting that at the end of the second round, I feel is a steal. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. Joe, on the other hand, was a first-round pick. And a lot of fans obviously frustrated with the lack of production that we've gotten from him. We see here 4 sacks in 2021, 4 sacks in 2022, 5 sacks in 2023. Over 3 years, he's only had 13 sacks, which is not what you're looking for from a first-round pick. Yes, even if it's the latest you can get in the first round, any team is probably looking for a little more than that. You're not looking for a role player in that first round. You're looking for a guy to be a starter. And unfortunately, we have not seen that yet from Joe. The Bucs don't pick up his final option on his rookie contract. So they're just saying, hey, Joe, it hasn't been there. Show us. Prove us wrong. Show us. And we know the Bucs, they love to invest in their homegrown players. I'm sure if Joe goes out and has a 10-plus sack season, they would do it. But first he has to win the job, because Chris Braswell is going to be coming in here with some fire, that rookie mindset, wants to get on the field, hungry. Does Joe still have that energy? I'm sure he does, but we're going to have to see it. Going to have to see it to believe it. Regardless, both of them, similar to what I said about Trey Palmer and Jalen McMillan, they will both see the field. Todd likes to rotate his guys. Doesn't matter if you're outside linebacker, defensive tackle, defensive end. Everyone sees the field. But I'm just speaking on who's going to end up being named that starting position, who's going to see the highest percentage of snaps on that defensive side of the ball. I'm leaning Braswell just because I have to see it to believe it at this point with Joe. I just haven't seen it through 3 seasons of Buccaneers football. I hope I do. I hope he proves me wrong. But I got to see it. And the last position we're going to talk about is that nickel position. 3 guys there that could possibly take it. Christian Izien, the starter last year, undrafted rookie, comes in, outperforms everyone to win the job, and just no one could have expected that from an undrafted rookie. Nobody. Then there's Tyke Smith, who is rookie out of Georgia, another third-round pick. The Bucs had multiple. And he is going to... He's not exactly the same build, same type of nickel as a Christian Izien. I feel Tyke Smith is a little bit more physical, more aggressive. Izien might be a better maybe ball hawk. So we'll see how that goes. And then there is one more. And in free agency, the Bucs did pick up Tavierre Thomas, veteran. Let me pull up his career for you. And we are looking at a total of 6 seasons in the NFL, starting with the Cleveland Browns, most recently being with the Houston Texans. Not a ton of production. 2 interceptions throughout those 6 seasons, 6 pass defenses, 1 sack, 195 tackles. So, like I said, not a ton of production there. Probably a rotational guy at that nickel or corner position for these 2 teams. Probably what we will end up seeing this year, a depth piece for that defense. We do know our secondary ends up getting injured a lot, so he very well may see the field a lot. But in terms of this battle between Izien, Tavierre, and Tyke Smith, I think he will be the dark horse in that race. Izien showing he could do it all of last year. Like I said, outperforming anyone's expectations and probably proving a ton of people wrong. Winning a game probably single-handedly in week 1 against the Vikings. I'm not going to count him out just because Tyke Smith is a third-round pick. He seems like a guy that Todd Bowles would love to have on the field. Just very versatile, very physical. Seems like a guy you could blitz a lot. He can drop back in coverage, do everything that a Todd Bowles nickel would need to do. But I'm not taking Izzy out of this race. He proved everyone wrong last year. He could very well do it again this year and hold on to that spot. So that's another one that I'm very interested to watch. Izzy versus Tyke Smith. So we will see how that plays out as well. All four of these, I can't wait. So we will see how this all plays out. It is June, and we are talking Bucs football and competitions and all of this stuff. This could all end up in a wash. People can get injured. God forbid, knock on wood. But you just never know how things play out. Just sharing what I think are probably the biggest positional competitions that we should watch as fans throughout training camp. I think it's 4 really good ones, and I think all 4 have pretty good options. The left guard one is the one I'm most concerned about, but I am confident in the rest of that offensive line, so it's not really too bad. But all other 3, I like what Braswell could bring. Tryon, like I said, I got a seed out of him. The wide receiver 3 position, we've seen Trey Palmer do it, and I really like what McMillan brings to that wide receiver room, so I'm cool there. And then that nickel position, we've seen Christian Izien do it. Excited to see what Tyke Smith can bring with his abilities to that position. So, like I said, can't wait for this. Can't wait for training camp. Football's a drug. I'm addicted. We're talking football in June, and just ready to go out there, $1 place. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please, in the comment section below, let me know your guys' thoughts. Comment who you think will win these competitions. Which one are you going to watch most? Whatever you would like to talk about, drop it in the comment section. I will usually respond if I see it. So, once again, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Go Bucs. Y'all have a blessed one.